Well, with the U.S. dollar falling over 1% yesterday and the Dow still below the 8,000 mark, is now the time to invest in the U.S., or are these better opportunities internationally? Joining us is Jim Rogers. He's chairman of Rogers Holding. Jim, good to see you.
Delighted to be here, Alexis.
All right, so Jim, look, Timothy Geithner, Treasury Secretary, yesterday talking to the Council on Foreign Relations, he basically says, yes, the central bank governor in China, he's a great guy, he's credible, you know, we should talk, we should have some consideration given what they're talking about worldwide reserve currency. What do you make of those comments?
Well, Alexis, Mr. Geithner has been wrong for 15 years in a row. I've never seen anybody who never, ever got it right. I guess that's why he's the Treasury Secretary right now. So I would not pay any attention to him. The market is overwhelming him. Every market is overwhelming him because he doesn't know what he's doing. And unfortunately for us, for America, the dollar is a very seriously flawed currency, and the rest of the world is catching on to that. So it doesn't matter whether Mr. Geithner wants to talk to the guy or not. The rest of the world is doing something.
All right, so let's go back for just a moment here, because there's a lot of people who suggest, you being one of them, that places like China and India are where there are real substantial opportunities. In fact, I've talked to Bob Hormats of Goldman Sachs. He says, Alexis, look, China is likely to recover before the United States. We need to keep our eyes on them. Tell me why we need to keep our eyes on them.
Well, Alexis, the rest of the world, some parts of the rest of the world are doing extremely well. China's the largest creditor nation in the world. America's the largest debtor nation in the world by a factor of many times. Again, I don't like saying this, but we have to deal with facts. Just as America emerged as a great and strong country when we were a creditor, China's doing it too. China's going to be less affected by the downturn. They will be affected. They're going to be less affected, and some parts of their economy are not even going to be affected, and they're going to come out of this very strong.
Yeah, but wouldn't you agree, though, that China is trying to have their cake and eat it, too? I mean, you know, they're manipulating the currency, and yet on the same hand, in anticipation of the G20, they're suggesting, hey, let's do a new world reserve currency. I mean, how much of this is just trying to pick at the United States and trying to raise their stature as they head into the G20?
Wait a minute, Alexis. If the United States weren't the largest debtor nation in the world, we could say, go ahead, do whatever you want to. Come on, Alexis. We got ourselves into this problem. They didn't get ourselves into it. China's got these huge reserves, which they've been saving for a rainy day. Well, now it's raining, and they're starting to use their reserves. How can you shoot the messenger saying America has a problem and it's not our problem?
All right,
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. Look, you've sat here with me in studio. You've said, Alexis, we need some failures, some major failures. You would have liked to see AIG failed. Now, do you not buy into the concept that they're so globally interconnected that they would have caused a massive depression? AIG
has failed, Alexis. Most of these things have failed. We're just propping them up. The Japanese tried to prop up zombie banks and zombie companies in the 1990s. It didn't work in Japan. It's not going to work here. Why should the American taxpayer, 300 million of us, pay hundreds of billions, in fact trillions of dollars to save a few guys driving Lamborghinis? This is absolutely insane. Yes, we would have had some problems if they failed. Well, Alexis, look around you. We've got problems now. This has been going on for 2 years.
Okay, so Jim,
everything Washington done has been making it worse.
All right, so Jim, is the United States getting anything right?
Well, then Washington, with Mr. Geithner and Mr. Bernanke, absolutely not. I cannot see a single thing they've done right. Now, listen, that's not America. That's 300 million Americans. I'm not saying 300 million Americans are doing it wrong, but you've got a couple of guys in Washington who are ruining us.
Okay, but Jim,
Alexis, you've got some guys in Washington ruining us.
Okay, I'm just as frustrated as you are with plenty of lawmakers and some really stupid things that have been done, but let's also realize, let's be plain honest about it, all the other countries around the globe are looking to us right now to see how we figure out how to get out of this situation. I mean, I was just in Davos. I listened to some of those European leaders. They're putting some pressure on us to work our way out of it. Why are people looking at us?
Alexis, I don't know what press you read, but the European, Germany is saying, we're not going to, America's making mistakes. The Chinese are saying America's making mistakes. Many other countries are saying America's making mistakes. Who's following our lead? The Germans and the French and the other Europeans are saying, except the English, don't do it the American way. They're doing it the wrong way. Well, I mean, I don't understand you.
Yeah, but wait a second. They're saying that, yes, I understand the Germans are saying, and Merkel's specifically saying with situations like Hungary, which are suggesting you guys need to help raise some funds for Eastern Europe, and they're saying, no, we're not doing fiscal stimulus packages the way the United States is doing, but they're all talking about looking to the United States to see how we recover out of this. We were the first to go into this recession, and therefore, if we can be one of the first to come out of it, wouldn't you agree, that would set the tone for some growth and strength in other places which are about 6 to 9 months behind us. You don't agree with that?
Well, I mean, look, everybody wants everybody to come out of it. Europe is a larger economy than the U.S., but the U.S. alone is the largest single economy in the world. Of course, people want everybody to come out of it. There's no question about that. My point is Washington is doing it the wrong way. The policies they're following in Washington have never worked. They're bailing out a few thousand people, maybe a few 100,000 people in the financial community so they can keep their Lamborghinis, but it's not good for 300 million Americans, is what I'm saying. The people, you say, isn't America doing something right? Yeah, America's doing a lot right. People are saving. People are trying to cut back. In Washington, they're trying to run up more debt and more spending. Alexis, the idea that you can solve a problem of too much debt and too much spending with more debt and more spending, that is absolute insanity to anybody who's logical and rational, unless you're trying to save your friends on Wall Street.
I completely agree. We can't spend our way out of it. This is not about saving anybody's friends on Wall Street. But the thing is, Jim, to sit here and say that the United States and the lawmakers right now on the Hill are not getting anything right would suggest that the country that everybody's looked to for some of the greatest capital growth and free markets in this country has been getting it wrong all along the way. People invested in our financial institutions.
Alexa, what are they getting right? Tell me one thing. Nobody's talking about the fact that America's not for free enterprises and a great country. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about what's happened over the last 100 years in America. We're talking about what's going on now in Washington, and that they are taking us down a path which is going to lead to perhaps a lost decade. I want you to tell me what they're doing right. You say they're doing it right. Tell me what they're doing right.
I'm not saying they're doing it right. I understand that they're spending way too much money, but they're trying to address the issues. If you don't go out there and cut interest rates, change monetary policy, release credit, bring back credit to small businesses and individuals across this country, what are we going to do? We're going to lock up the credit markets around the globe. Don't you agree?
Absolutely not. The idea that you take good money and throw it after bad. Alexis, your parents must have taught you, don't throw money down a rat hole, don't throw good money after bad. The idea that you take our money, 300 million taxpayers, many of whom did nothing wrong, have been saving and doing the right thing, and giving it, putting over here to a bunch of guys who failed into bad assets to prop up bad assets, that is horrible economics. It is horrible morality, but who cares? I mean, the politicians don't care about morality, but this is terrible economics. This doesn't even make any sense, except maybe to you.
Okay, Jim, you know I love debating with you. Could you please stay here? I need to take a break before I get arrested.